Okay, so welcome to this slightly different format recording, which I'm calling Fox Fridays. This is episode one, and I thought it'd be a good opportunity to provide any updates, also try and address sort of common themes that I see in the group. But yeah, a combination of updates, addressing questions and common themes, and any other things that I think are interesting for this kind of group. So this is a new format, really keen to hear your feedback. Your eyes do not deceive you. I am slightly sunburnt because we've finally got a little bit of sun in the southwest of the UK, which we're all benefiting from, I'm sure. So, new format, Fox Fridays. Let's see how we go. First of all, really excited to see the new EP5 range out in the wild. Thanks, Eddie, for a picture of his installation. So this is a K-series inverter with three of the EP5s connected all together using the sort of parallel junction box that you see above it. So that's unlike some of the LV series where each battery connects to each other. The EP range, which is a high voltage product, effectively a repackaged ECS cube system into a wall mountable, floor mountable box. You can see that these three batteries connect into that junction box that then connects into the inverter. The batteries are, the package and form factor wise, I don't think the datasheet does it its justice. If you look at the size of the inverter versus the size of the batteries, they look to be a sort of similar sort of dimension. Obviously, the inverter's a bit thicker, being a K series. They're very capable units. They go right from 7 up to 10.5 kilowatts on single phase. But I'm just really impressed by how neat it looks to have roughly a 15 kilowatt, 16 kilowatt hour setup, three batteries, wall mounted, connected up to a K series. I've been contacting our recommended suppliers to talk about to try and get pricing for the EP11 range. Although the units are starting to appear on various sites as a pre-order, there's not yet any pricing available. So as soon as I hear about pricing, I'll let you know. But yeah, that's what an EP looks like. A couple of things I've noticed whilst speaking to those suppliers and doing a bit more research on the EP range. These are just screenshots from the Eco Superstore, one of our recommended suppliers. You notice that we've got a cost of just shy of £1,300 for a 5.18 kilowatt hour EP5 on the right hand side. Pricing to be confirmed for the EP11. The junction box that we saw earlier on the slide before on Ed's picture, you saw the junction box above it. So that's another £174 that you'll have to take into account when you're designing a system that is more than one EP battery. So if you've got a single EP5 or EP11, you don't need the junction box. The battery connects directly into the inverter. The moment you have two or more, you're required to have this junction box to connect it all together. Each of the EP range, so the 5 and the 11, can scale to 4 battery packs per inverter. If you are one of those rare residential users or business users that has 3-phase and you have a H3 Pro, you can connect 2 stacks of batteries. So it would be 8 of the EP range batteries, 2 junction boxes, 4 batteries on each, go into a H3 Pro. 3-phase isn't very common for residential in the UK. It's standard for commercial and businesses. So I imagine the H3 Pro range is aimed at very large properties or commercial units. Another thing that stuck out to me whilst looking at the specs and the prices of the EP range is that they only come with a 5-year warranty as standard, whereas all the other battery ranges that you can purchase all come with a 10-year warranty when you register them. So it's interesting that it's a 5-year warranty with the option of enhancing that to an additional 5 years for £240. I'm just clarifying whether that's per purchase or install, or whether that's another £240 per battery, because that would definitely change the ROI and the financial outlook on the batteries. So I'm watching this space closely. As soon as I've got some concrete answers, I'll do another update on the EP range. But the EP range is offering very close to around the best watt hour per pound. It's down. I think it's on £270 a kilowatt hour roughly. It's very close, if not slightly more expensive than what you can achieve using the ECS Cube batteries. They offer some fantastic capacity per pound when it comes to that ratio. So yeah, lots of stuff moving. I think the EP range is going to be for a customer who doesn't have the space for a cube system, wants something that's wall mountable, so that especially if you've got a garage that you may still need to put a vehicle in, or you've got space constraints. But right now, I'd still continue to recommend the ECS Cube for all the features and the best bang for buck when it comes to kilowatt hour per pound. So just some quick updates for the group. So the Open API issue that's affecting not only Fox's own applications, we've seen some stability issues with the version 1 and version 2 application, although slightly rarer. If you are using the Energy Stats app that completely is reliant on Fox's Open API endpoint, that's been going through some stability issues that are being investigated by Fox. They've committed to understanding the issue and resolving it, but it will take them a little bit of time to look into it and resolve the issue. It appears to be some kind of server-side problem, but we've got some smart folks in the group who are actively communicating with the Fox R&D team to report and share the logs, and Fox are obviously committed to exposing a reliable endpoint that third parties can consume. So whilst it's frustrating when it has those blips, bear with us. It's all being fixed, and the team that built those applications, are all in contact with each other. Quick update on selling on the group. Especially this time of year, we see a lot of people sort of upgrading inverters or changing batteries. So selling on the group is not a problem. If you're a private person and you're selling as a regular individual, please post it within something like eBay or Marketplace, somewhere that the transaction technically happens outside the group. Don't try and sell directly within the group, because we want the paper trail and the payment to be done by a means outside the group. Because these components are very expensive, the chance of someone being accidentally tricked into sending money to a fraudster are very high. So treat every person with suspicion. If you can use an eBay listing, please do. And if you are sending money to someone who has posted a product on Marketplace, I recommend you use something that has a guarantee, like sending it through PayPal but marking it as a service or business. You'll have to pay a few percent more because it's not friends and family, but you're protected by PayPal. So if you don't receive your goods, you're able to raise a dispute. If you send it through PayPal and mark it as friends and family, you won't pay the additional fee, but you also won't have any protection. So not a problem, in summary, to post the items that you have for sale on say eBay, and then post a listing to that in the group. Please keep it Fox specific, so we don't want to see other non-related items ideally on the group. We don't want to clock it up with selling stuff, but if you are selling, say, an inverter, a battery, a LAN adapter, whatever it is, something Fox specific, feel free to post an eBay listing, and someone else can benefit from it. Just to remind our group that we do have a forum also. Not everyone is a fan of Facebook, so we have a regular forum that you can sign up for, and there's all the same experts are available over on the forum. You can write slightly longer threads. You can have a discussion, a conversation. You can start a thread as well as the normal ask for help or assistance, understanding something. So that's not a problem. But just for those that only use Facebook, there is also a forum available. If you're comfortable with Facebook, keep using Facebook. But some people like the forum experience, and it will allow us to share knowledge outside of Facebook. It also allows Google to index certain topics. So if you say something like how to connect a Fox Wi-Fi dongle after changing internet providers, you can Google search for that and it will take you to the forum because it's all indexed by Google. So we've seen a big surge in people that have joined the forum. Thought another topic or format of this meeting, I'm trying to keep them to kind of 20 minutes, half an hour tops, but another idea would be to just walk through the last sort of 10 or so questions on the group and just give my opinion on them, see if there's any slightly more verbose answer to the questions, just helps other people out. So I'll switch over to the group now. So you should be seeing the Facebook, the Facebook page. So just a couple call outs. I'll be posting updates about the Open API issue under this thread here. If you're interested in expanding your battery system or buying any additional hardware, have a look at this post. It will. We've got a number of recommended suppliers who we've vetted who offer a discount for being a member of this group. You'll get the best price there. If you've not yet moved to Octopus, feel free to use the Octopus referral, and we both get some money that way. And that's all the main sticking points we've got right now. Let's have a look at some of these questions then and just walk through them. Nicholas is talking about service costs and warranties, and that seems to be an area that people are being exploited on. There's a lot of cowboys or scammers going around. So with your system is required to be checked every year to maintain its warranty. You can speak to your initial installer to see if they can come round and provide a check. Technically you could get an electrician just to prove that the electrics are all safe, but you might want someone that can also investigate any solar related errors. But your system should be viewed by a competent professional every year, giving you a document and a receipt for the fact that they've had a look at the system. So there's lots of solar companies that are happy to do this sort of service work, but just make sure that you're not being signed up to a very expensive service contract that includes, cleaning services and washing of the panels. They typically seem to be an area that's being exploited right now, a little bit like payday loans and PII. It's the latest. When anything is talked about a lot, it seems to be an area that is sort of rife for scammers to get involved in. Solar panels don't need to be cleaned all that often. Maybe a couple times a year by your regular window cleaner should be absolutely fine. If you want to get into an agreement where you have a service contract, just make sure that it's reasonable, and first try to shop around, speak to a few solar companies that understand what the yearly check entails, and you'll have that peace of mind. There is also going to be the group of people that are happy just to let it be there and be fine, and they'll only reach out to their installer or for help when there is a fault, and that's fine. But you just know that you're could potentially be putting the warranty at risk if you're not holding up your side of maintaining the equipment regularly. Kev asks about his battery, inverter, and solar panel combination in terms of the cheap rates. A lot of energy specific stuff. It really comes down to personal circumstance. The inverters have a lot of different programs you can set up. So if you want to harness the sun and put that into the batteries, you got self-use mode. If you're on more of a dynamic plan like an agile, and you want to program certain windows or have the agile response where it's automatically selling and buying your electricity depending on that half-hour slot, those are all options that are now becoming available. You do have to run the latest. Software for that. Some people are also interested in how you forecast and predict tomorrow's solar generation in order to charge the batteries as little as possible. Sean was just saying how thrilled he was about his consumption figures and his P&L of the solar versus his cost. That's really good to see. Philip is talking about a Fox support issue. I was looking at this one earlier on, trying to figure out how far you'd got, Philip. It seems strange that the installer is passing you off to Fox, because typically the installer should sort of work in the middle between the manufacturer and you. But I'll give your thread a little bit more of a review later if it hasn't already been solved. Someone's selling some bird mesh protection. Depends on where you live and whether you've got wildlife. You obviously don't want animals nesting under the panels because they tend to start damaging the cables. But if you're not noticing birds under the panels, there's not a lot of it's not really worthwhile paying for it. It also depends on if you've got panels that are spaced off your roof. When my panels were installed, I was able to get the racking right close against the tile, so there isn't really the room for any birds to get under there. Squirrels could probably still make it. Someone was asking about the differences between Energy Stats and Fox Cloud 2. As I mentioned in that response, the Energy Stats is made by a group member, Ali, so it's really good as an app because it's been built with all of the feedback that he's been exposed to. So it's kind of an app built for the people, exactly what people are asking for or need. And as a user himself, he's got a vested interest in producing the best app possible. But it is considered third party. It's consuming the Fox Open API, which is why there's that issue. When that Fox API is having problems, so does the all third-party apps. Fox Cloud 2 is Fox's official application, and it's got its own experience. Doesn't have all of the features that necessarily that you can get through something like a Home Assistant Modbus, but it's pretty much there. It can do all the scheduling. I believe Energy Stats will be doing the scheduling ability as well once the Open API supports it, but they are all kind of doing the same thing in a slightly different way. What I see as a recurring theme is that a lot of people like the way that you can do the drill down into the various data points, like which array, which string is performing, and how they're performing. A lot of people like the way that the power graph works within Energy Stats as well. So all this feedback is seen also by Fox, so they're continuing to increment their own app. Someone's asking about house insurance. This is a really good question, actually, because it really does depend on your installation and your insurance company. So there's a lot of talk right now about batteries in lofts being discouraged under the new BSI standards. So depending on what equipment you've had installed, where you've had it installed, I imagine insurance companies will start to ask questions about what and where. But when I had my system all installed 5-6 years ago, when I called my insurance company, they weren't really interested. They just said, yep, that's all part of sort of what the policy permits to have certified installation work such as solar panels and batteries. They didn't care that at the time I had batteries in the loft. So with insurance, it's always best to disclose. Most insurance policies, you're obliged to notify them of any major change. So it'd be worthwhile calling, emailing, chatting, and letting them know you've had a solar system installed. I try and give them as little information as possible and let them lead the question. So if they just say, yep, solar panels and a home battery are fine and permitted, that's all you need to hear, and just have that documented. And obviously, if they do ask you any further questions, you've got to answer them truthfully. If your policy premium does increase, which is incredibly unlikely, then it is what it is. You'll still be benefiting from having solar, and because solar is now so so widespread in terms of people installing it. I think I've not heard of an insurance company have any issues with solar, and I've not heard of any asking for any additional money when you declare the change. If you do have an insurer that's asking you to pay an increased premium because you've declared a solar install, please comment, let us know. Like I say, from the thousands of users we have on the group, I've never seen anyone say that their premium had been increased because they declared solar, but it would be advisable to declare it, and then you know that you're safe should there be a future issue. And the most common one would probably be something like a storm causes roof damage, and then a damage surveyor comes out and says, "Oh, you've got solar panels," and they feed that back. And if you haven't told them, then that they may not pay out for that repair. So it's probably worth declaring it. Would be my advice. We'll just do a couple more, and then we're coming up kind of at the half-hour mark. Someone talking about bird proofing again. Whether there's any installers that would install it. Well, that's pretty handy, because above someone's selling a bird proofing kit, and someone here is saying that they've got pigeons and squirrel activity under their panels. So some people will need it. Any MCS installer will be happy to quote you for bird proofing to be added. If they're obviously not doing the install, it may be more expensive to add it after the fact. So if you have any doubts about whether your install should have bird proofing, just have it added. I don't have any birds around, and like I say, when mine was installed, it was installed with a gap that was shallow enough that I wasn't concerned. But if I especially lived in a more urban area where there was pigeons, then I'd consider it, because they can cause quite a mess underneath panels, and you don't want individual panels breaking and being weeks without that generation. Someone's asking about the specs of panels that are compatible with string inverters, so like the F series. So I've got a fair amount of experience with the S and the F series inverters, string inverters, and you've just got to make sure that the panels have enough voltage per panel on the string to get it above the startup voltage, and know that's the minimum. So you really want it to operate well above the startup voltage. Normally that means 3 or 4 panels per string minimum, and with most panels being anywhere from 3 to 500 watts, you want to be aware of what the string current will be, and just make sure it all falls within the data sheet. Fox are pretty good at listing the PV specs that the inverter will operate at. Sometimes they don't disclose whether it's a combined limit or a per string limit, so be aware when you're speccing out an inverter whether it's a per string limit or is it a combined inverter limit. That's something to look out for. That's caught a few people on the group out in the past. Have a look. What have we got? Have we got any that have got loads of comments on? Ian's post was pretty interesting with his update to it, the new isolator, and how his Fox inverter is working. Lots of app-related questions, because obviously that server issue that's been intermittent recently is causing some people not to see any data on and off. That's repeating. Another one. Someone asking if you can have 2 battery stacks per inverter. If it's single phase, no. All single phase inverters are single battery stacks. If you want the most capacity possible, you'd probably want to combine 4 of the EP11s, which will give you just over 40 kilowatt hours, or 8 of the ECS 4800s will give you somewhere like 33 kilowatt hours from memory. And you'd need a Gen 2 H1 or a K series to do that because of the voltage limits. Someone's showing off their install. That looks really nice, really clean install. Well, I hope you enjoyed this update. Let me know if you've got any questions. Thanks.